Hare Krishna. So, do you all recall which chapter? Name of the chapter? Hare Krishna. Name or number? Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Na Om Ajnanatimurandasya Jnanakalaachalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swapadakidikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopeshu Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shapanusute Devi Pranamani Hari Priye Mancha Kalpadarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patidana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vatsadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna Hare
Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna. So start. So today is the 8th chapter, and it is called it's called attaining the supreme. So we'll see how we can attain the supreme. This chapter is very important because this will give us what is actual process, what is the process to achieve, and what we have to follow. It's called Akshara Brahma Yoga. Hare Krishna. Yes. So the 8.1 I'll start. From there on, you all can start reading. Hare Krishna. Arjuna inquired, "O my Lord, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is self? What are fruitive activities? What is material manifestation? And what are the demigods? Please explain this to me." Right? And 8.2 also like that. How does this Lord of Sacrifice live in the body, and in which part does he live? O Madhusudana. And how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? Right. So this is very, very important. So Krishna is actually Arjuna asks a lot of questions, right? So he is asking to the, asking what is Brahman? Brahman has many meanings, but here we'll see what he talks about, and what is self, and what are the fruit of activities. We saw, right? We should work, but we should not enjoy fruits of the activity. So what does it mean? And what do you mean by material manifestation, right? And who all come under demigods? We keep referring as gods, demigods. What are they? And where does the God live, right? Sacrifice, the Lord of Sacrifice live. Which part of the body? And, how can we engage in devotional service at the time of death? And why is he asking? We will see this. And the reason why all this is coming is because we had 7.29 and 7.30. When he ended the chapter, it says this. Jara Marana Mokshaya Mamash Rityaya Tantiye Te Brahma Tadvidu Krishnam Adhyatmam Karma Chakilam. And he continues, right? Brahma and Adhyatma is coming. So we'll see what it is. 7.30. Already you all know what is Adhyatma and Adideva. Let's hear it out. Sadi Bhutadi Devamma Sadhyajnam cha ye viduhu prayana kale pijama ye vidur yukta chetasah. Hare Krishna. Prayana kale means anta kale, which means at the end, final destination, right? What should I do? So he's asking, so because of that, all these names have come, and these are summarized beautifully here. So a little bit of Jnana is going to be here. So please pay attention. So the first one is, what is Brahman? So Brahman refers to a lot of things, right? Including the light which is coming from Krishna's body. And Krishna is called Parabrahma and all this. But here he's talking about us, right? The Jivatma. is indestructible. So now why is it indestructible? Because we saw in the second chapter that the soul cannot be destroyed, cannot be burned, cannot be moistened, cannot be withered. Does anyone remember the size of the soul we discussed in second chapter? Does anyone remember the size?
1/1000th part of the hair strand.
1/10,000 part of it. Yeah. So of the tip of the hair. So thank you so much. Yes. So that's the size of the soul. So I'll come to the place where it is located shortly. But do you remember which place the soul resides? Do you know where does the soul reside in our body? Does anyone know where does it reside? We didn't discuss, but anybody can guess where it resides. In the hands, in the legs, where does he reside?
The heart.
Heart. Thank you so much. So this will answer your seventh question. Where does Adi Yagna reside? So here Adi Yagna actually refers to whom? Adi Yagna refers to Paramatma. And we know Paramatma is next to the soul. The soul resides in the heart. So Adi Yagna also resides in the heart. So sixth answer, I'm coming in reverse. Adi Yagna, the enjoyer of sacrifice, who it is? It is Paramatma. So that's how these three come. So now we will go back to Adi Atma, the second point, right? Who's the controller of the body, right? The nature of the Jiva. So what do you mean by nature? So you understand that the chili has to be spicy, right? That's the very nature of the chili. And the particular nature of our body, right? By nature, what is the speciality of our body is we are the control, we are being controlled, right? We will be the controller of the body. Like if you take Krishna, he has control over all the body, but we also have limited control over our body, right? So Adi Atma means the nature of the Jiva, right? The self, talking about ourselves. That so largely we've already read this, right? This is pertaining to the body and mind. So whatever is happening to us because of our own body and mind is what we call it as disturbances due to Adya. So here Adi Atma refers to your own body, which is self, right? So karma refers to the fruitive activities. So how fruitive activities and karma and body is linked? Because based on your karma, you get a body, right? So the body is directly linked to the karma which you procure. And what do you mean by Adi Buddha? Adi Buddha refers to material manifestation. So Adi Buddha is the surrounding, right? So how this particular material nature, Prakriti, is evolved, right? So that entirely, that's why Adi Buddha Klesha we see is external disturbances by somebody else. It can be even a mosquito or anything. So here Adi Buddha is talking about the or anything related to material nature. So here we will also have what we will have the mode of goodness, passion, ignorance also are getting stuck here, right? Because those are all the material manifestation around us. Now, Adi Deva refers to the universal form. You all would have read, and we will read again. It's 11th chapter, which is a universal form, which is the Virat Rupa or the Vishnu Rupa, or it's also called Vishwa Rupa. So that is a huge, 1,000 hands, 1,000 faces. That is called the Adi Deva. It is the supreme demigod. So we all know demigod. Supreme demigod is like the Param demigod is Krishna himself. Where does Adi Yagna reside? We all know. How do we remember Krishna at the time of death? By practice. So we read this. So I'm clear. I'm sure you're clear of the Brahman, which is Jiva. Karma means based on the activities we get the body. Adi Yagna resides is Paramatma and he resides in the heart. You'll be technically very clear about all this. The only doubt you may get is about Adi Atma, Adi Buddha, Adi Deva. Right? These are the concepts which might be confusing. So, for example, if you're talking about eyes belong to me, right? But vision, I'm seeing you, right? The you which I'm seeing is Adi Buddha. And Adi Atma is the I. And the person who manufactured this I, right, is Adi Deva, which is a demigod. I'm just giving an example, so that you can. So we can move on to 8.3. Yes, please go ahead and read, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Do we have anyone to read?
The Supreme Lord said, the indestructible transcendental living entity is called Brahman, and this eternal nature is called the self. Action pertaining to the development of these material bodies is called karma or fruitive activities.
Thank you so much. So well, right? So what is he saying? The indestructible one, right? Because we know that Brahman, soul cannot be destroyed. And nature is eternal, right? And action pertaining to the material body. So see, body does not just come as it is. A particular action leads to the material body. And what is that action? That's called karma, right? You do good activities, you get a heavenly body. You do bad activity, you get an animalistic body, right? So it's directly proportional. So what happens to the body is it's not constant. It keeps constantly changing. So that's what we're going to see. And 8.3 we just read, right? So typically, this is what it is. So if you are doing good activity, you get, like good activity, pious activity, you get the body of even demigods. But bad activities, you can land up to be a. So 8.4 ma, Hare Krishna.
Physical nature is known to be endlessly mutable. The universe is the cosmic form of the Supreme Lord, and I am that Lord represented as the super soul dwelling in the heart of every embodied being.
So what they are telling is the physical nature is endless, and the universe. So basically, for example, if you take this caterpillar, which becomes a butterfly, if you see the mutation, it completely transforms, right? So there is the process from how it started here and became a caterpillar, and the butterfly has no leaf. They have completely changed, right? And even in our human body, they say once in 7 years, all the cells die and a new cell comes. So the universe is the cosmic form of the Supreme Lord. So that is why the universe is prayed as the Virat or the Vishwarupa. And I am the Lord represented as a super soul. So he is now declaring directly. So far he was talking in the third level, right? Like I, you. Third level is he. So he was talking like whoever was present is called Paramatma. So now he is declaring that I am the one who is dwelling where in the heart. So he's given the location where he is present. So coming back, just to explain this better, the nature, right, is constantly changing, right? It's on mutation. And the entire universe is nothing but Supreme Lord. And he is, in the name of Paramatma, is residing in the heart. So that's the point. So 8.5 onwards, now you know the number Anta. So there are first and two shlokas are the questions by Arjuna, and all of them almost is being answered by the shloka 3 and 4. And he is talking about at a time of death, right? This is the last question of Arjuna. What should one do, and how will he remember? Right? So he says, Anta kale cha mam eva shmaran mukta kalevaram yaha prayati samadbhavam yati nastatra samshaya. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Can I read Mataji?
Yeah, please. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. And whoever at the time of death quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Mataji, you have to speak little louder because your voice is going little low. Next time.
Okay, Mataji. Okay, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So Antakale, right? So Antakale means a final time moment, right? Smaran means thinking. Whatever you're thinking, that is the place you will reach. You will attain my nature. When you say attain my nature, it's not that you become like Krishna, so yes, you can if you get a type of liberation called the Rupa, right? Rupa Mukti, where you become like him, look like him, but you can't become him. So when you attain my nature means he's mentioning about his abode, which is his Vaikuntha or the Goloka. We saw yesterday chart, right? So we'll see one more part of the chart today, but this is what he is talking about. Now, what is happening is, can anyone tell me, before that, can anyone tell me who's in this picture? Can anyone recognize who's in this picture? It was Krishna that we know, but do you know who's lying on this bed of?
Bhishma Pitama.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
And he has this advantage of Icha Maranam, which means he can die whenever he wishes to die. That's a big benediction. Not everybody gets. So he's also blessed by the fact that he is surrounded by Pandavas and he's having Krishna right in front of him. Right? So he says that so at the time of death, whoever, whatever he's thinking will be there. So imagine with Krishna right before him, what he'll think? He'll think only of Krishna, right? Fortunately or unfortunately, we do not have Icha Maranam. At the same time, it's very unlikely for us to think of Krishna unless we practice. So it's like this. I don't study at all. Directly I go take the exam. Will I get 100 marks? May not be. Right? Very unlikely. So the possibility is, so entire life is like it's like practice. And your death is an examination. So this is a very funny question, and this is a beautiful story where Yudhishthira Maharaj actually, is on exile. Right? You all are aware they went into the forest after Draupadi's incident, and one after the other, each brother. Like first, they had Bhima coming, and all of them, all his four brothers, one after the other, come to drink water. And what happens is there is this Yaksha. Yaksha is the name of the Rakshasa who says that you should not eat or drink my water, otherwise you will die. And you have to answer my question. They don't bother, and each of them die. Now, when Yudhishthira comes, even Yudhishthira initially thinks they're all taking rest. So when he sees, he says, "Okay, but please revive one child." And he says, "Okay, you answer my questions. I will allow you to take one child." So he asked, "Whom would you prefer?" He said, "Okay, me, Arjuna, and that shows the magnanimous quality, right? And Bhima are all born to Kunti. And Madhavi is the stepmom to whom the Sakadev and Mahadev are born. So he says that one child from them is what I'm going to pick. So it shows how great Yudhishthira is. And Yaksha is none other than Yamaraj. So there is this shloka which is there, which says, Ahani, Ahani, Bhutani, Gachanti Hayamalayam, Sesha Stavaram Chanti, Himasharyam Athaparam. Hare Krishna, please read. I can't hear.
Hundreds and thousands of living entities meet death at every moment, but a foolish living being nonetheless thinks himself deathless and does not prepare for death. This is the most wonderful thing in this world.
So this is the biggest irony, where even in our houses they say don't talk about death, right? So they say hundreds and thousands of living entities, right? They actually have death every moment, right? You see, even our friends, relative, we see at least in a year. And after COVID, I think this is there. But the foolish person never thinks it will come. I think this is very similar. You can relate to COVID. All of us more or less have had experience of COVID. But when we got COVID first, what is the first reaction we got? No. There is, for me, it will not come. It is very unlikely that I will get COVID. Yes or no? Did you all tell that? I wish.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. So, I will tell I had a bad cold. Maybe it's throat pain. I did that. So when I had New Year, after New Year on the 4th day, I was thinking, it's my routine. Every time, I go out in the night, we are all like entire family, we are outside. So, maybe we are going to, the climate didn't suit. But this year we were not outside. But still, I was telling the same story, right? So same way death you see, but still you feel it's not going to come. So this story, can anyone remember what it is while I'm chanting? Hare Krishna. Yam yam bhapi smaran bhavam. Jayajate ante kalevaram. Tam tam evaiti kaunteya. Sada sattat bhava bhavitaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. Hare Krishna.
Can anyone tell who the picture? Can you relate? We've already discussed the story. It's a continuation of that. Does anyone know? So this is Bharat Maharaj. Remember, I told he adopted a deer?
Yes, yeah.
Yes, right. So this is a continuation. I told the story will continue, and I will be back with that story. So this is the continuation, and he goes in search. And what happens in his process is he is worried and he falls off from the cliff. But while he is falling off from the cliff, also when the body is leaving, he's constantly thinking of the deer. Right at that time of death, his mind is focused on the deer, and therefore he gets a body of the deer in the next birth. Now you may tell, Mataji, this is confusing. You told that if you are born with devotion, Krishna won't let down. Yes, that is why even though he's born as a deer, he remembers his previous birth. Right, and that's a benediction he gets, and therefore he practices. And that's not only with him, even with Gajendra. So this is what happens. So many times what happens, what you think is what is going to happen. Therefore, Krishna comes with the next sloka, which is Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Manushmara Nutyacha Mayar Pitamano Buddhir Mame Vaishasya Samshaya. Hare Krishna.
Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt.
Nice, right? So he's telling, therefore, Arjuna, right? Why therefore? Because the two shlokas give a link. There is this shloka, he says, at the time of death, think of me, you will come to my abode. This says that whatever you think is what you reach. So he's concluding by saying, therefore, you think of me all the time. Anushmaran Yuddhecha, okay? And therefore, you put your mano buddhi, mind and intelligence, and therefore you can be surely reaching. Asamshaya, without a doubt, reach me. Can someone tell me who is this beautiful, cute boy dancing? You all know this actually. Who's this boy? Any guesses? He's Prahlad. Right? So Prahlad went to school, and that was 5 years when he was. And to all his friends, he was only talking about Krishna. And that was the only thing. He was dancing, he was teaching japa, and that was all the glory. So all the time, whether he's being tortured, whether he's with friends, whether he's in school, he's always thinking of that. So now what happens is, the story you all already know. So I'm just going to continue. And he becomes a deer, right? After he becomes a deer, he goes back to the same place where he was doing the japa. You remember the initial yagnas which he was doing? He goes back there, and through a natural process, he dies. And again, he is born as Jadavarga. That story also will come. See, that is why Srimad Bhagavatam is there. It's so beautiful that it has all, just like part 1, part 2, part 3. We have movies, right? Like that. See, part 1 is there about King Bharat. Part 2 is there about the deer's life, and part 3 is going to be about Jadavarga. So this is an 8.8. We'll read this. Hare Krishna. Abhyasha yoga yuktena jetasa nanya paramam purusham divyam adipatan chintayan. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. He who meditates on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me and undeviated from the path, he, O Partha, is sure to reach me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So very clearly, he says that such a person who's constantly meditating on the Supreme Person, and his mind is constantly remembering me, undeviated, right? He is sure to reach me. So he's giving that guarantee. Krishna is giving that guarantee that he surely reach me. Now coming back, this is that of Ajamila, and I will tell you the story of Ajamila by the end of the class. So he says that if his mind is constantly there, he will surely reach. So by end of the class, now it's the picture has come. So I'll start now. So Ajamila, right? So let me just stop sharing and start recording. Is my voice clear?
Yes, Mataji, it's clear now, but in between sometimes it's a little bit.
Okay.
It's not clear.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. So we'll talk about Ajamila, right? Who is Ajamila? So Ajamila is very hardcore devotee, and he comes from a family, which I told, right? Transcendental family, where his father, his entire family was talking only about Vishnu, Lord, and so much of prayers, pujas, and all he had done. So now what happens to Ajamila is, one day his father tells him to get woods, right? The wood for the house. So he goes, and there he sees this picture. That is what is this picture. And he can see this girl, she's a prostitute. And this prostitute is with this guy. And what happens is, her eyes are rolling, she's intoxicated, she's very undressed. So he gets completely disturbed. Though his mind is carried, this is why we say mind is the head of all senses, because his mind is carried. He's telling the shloka what he should have done, he should have quit the place, right? Instead, he is so tempted. Okay, fine, you're tempted, you're confused, it happens, but then he should have come back and fixed his life. Instead, what he does is he will go and hire her as his maid. He's married and he has a beautiful wife. In spite of that, he picks this girl and keeps her in the house as a maid. And his wife will say, I don't need a maid, but still he will insist on her being the maid. And later they will come to know that, this girl is having some kind of relationship. And also he says that he will pay such a huge amount, like in today's terms, I can't compare, but then so much he will promise her, because that's the amount she would earn, and he gives 10 times that amount. To manage that, what happens is he wants to earn, normally Brahmanas don't earn by salary or anything, they keep telling Vedas. But after seeing him like this, what happens is the father gets very upset, and finally they drive them out. And his only thing is to preach Vedas, right? And if he's not having chastity, why would they even take Vedas from you? The respect comes from your behavior, right? So there is no honor and nobody gives him money. So what happens is to keep up the standard, and that too, she has a condition. Her condition is I will drink, and he says no problem, and he will also become a drunkard, right? So they keep telling, right? Ironically, today's time they keep telling, my wife made me a drunkard. So typical case happened in Ajamila, right? He was such a hardcore staunch Brahmana, and he started drinking to just give company to his wife, and he started entering and doing all abominable activity just to impress the wife to keep up the style. And he lived very long. So you can imagine at the age of 80, he had a 2-year-old child. So you can imagine how many, children. He had many kids. He had almost a dozen children. And the last, he called him Narayana. So this is what is devotional service. See, he had done devotions of Krishna. Even if he forgets Krishna, Krishna does not forget. And he made his child called Narayana. And correctly, in his deathbed, there the Yamadutas, right, come. When the Yamadutas come, it's like the Scorpio, like more than 50 Scorpios sitting. That is the kind of pain they can feel. And Yamadutas want to attack. And they want to take him. And that time, very beautiful and very handsome looking Vishnu Dutas are coming exactly in that spot. And this is what happens. See, Yamadutas, can you see? They're trying to take him. And the Vishnu Dutas are also countering. They are flying and coming. They look exactly like Vishnu. This is what I told. Sa Rupya. You can get the same form. They look so beautiful and they are all telling you can't take him. Yamadutas are upset. Why are you interfering? This is also in Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is all true. So they said that we want to interfere because you can't take him because he chanted Narayana. They say he didn't chant Narayana, he called his son. They say it doesn't matter. So even once someone chants Narayana and he did it at the time of death, right? Antakale. So Yamadutas do not have the right to take to Yamaloka. And therefore they both have an argument, and they list out all that. He did everything possible. He drank, he misbehaved, he robbed, right? Everything to please his wife. I'm talking about the wife which he brought from the forest, right? The so-called wife. And they both argued, and this is a very beautiful book called The Second Chance. It is there in database. I'll show you at the end of class. Then he gets a second chance. Both of them leave. He gets a second chance and he realizes this immediately. And he goes to Haridwar and is there for 12 years. And after 12 years, he finally reaches the abode of Krishna. This is the picture which came up. Right? It's Vaikunta. And in Vaikunta, everybody has the 400 form, which we'll see today. And that form he gets. So we'll move on to 8.9. Hare Krishna. I can read.
One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and being transcendental is beyond this material nature.
Hare Krishna. So what they are telling is one should meditate on Supreme Person. So they are telling very clearly on the person Krishna, right? It's not energy, not light, not even Paramatma. So very clearly he says, and he's the oldest and he's the controller. He's smallest because the soul is very small and he's there within, or he's by the side. So you can imagine how small he is, and we saw the size of the soul. So we know the size. He's the maintainer, right? So Isha Upanishad mantra also says that Kushani Karse Yamasurya Prajapatya Vyuhasmin Samuratejo Tate Rupam Kalyana Tamo Tate Pashyanti Yo Aso Purushaha Yo Aso Asmin. So he very clearly says that he's a maintainer and he is beyond material conception. So we cannot even understand or imagine what. He is luminous than sun, and that's why his world does not have sun moon. Come later, right? No sun or no shashi, no moon, because he is so self-illuminatory. That is his abode. He concludes that. So we have Brahma praying whom? Can someone tell me who is this Vishnu? Brahma is praying. Can someone tell me who is this Vishnu? Yes, I know Vishnu. Which Vishnu? And Brahma is in Brahmaloka. We saw yesterday, right? The 14 planetary system. In Brahmaloka is constantly meditating. So if there's any problem in the heavenly planets or in the kingdom, also there are problems. He will meditate on that Vishnu. And what happens is that Vishnu will he can hear. The chance of seeing is very rare, but he will be able to hear through mind, right? He will be able to meditate and he communicates and he will communicate to the other demigods. And this is in Padma Puran. And this Vishnu is the Shiro Dakshai, the Paramatma, right? So he is the one. And if you're coming here, we have our Shiva, and in Padma Puran, Lakshmi, that's Parvati Devi is telling that I do Vishnu Sahasrama. If I don't have time to do all 1,000 names, right? Then what do? He says, no problem. You just chant this song called the Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranana Taptulyam Rama Nama Varanami Shri Rama Nama Varanami Om Nama Iti. That means Rama's name, if you meditate on, that is equal to your 1,000 names of Vishnu. So that is what they say in that, in the Padma Puran, Shiva is talking. So we all know that normally what husbands will tell you, think of me now, you focus on me. But look how Shiva itself is trying to talk about Vishnu, about Vishnu. Hare Krishna. Move on to 8.15. Mam upatya punar janma dukkalayam ashashvatam napu mahatmanah samsiddhim paramam gatah. Hare Krishna. Please read.
After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection.
So he very clearly says that the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to the temporary world. Why? Because it is full of miseries. So he's telling that is why it's called Dukalayam Ashashvatam, right? And it is full of miseries, is what he is confirming. Like this, right? Once you're in jail, you don't want to get back. That is why it is there. Now 8.16 you can read, and I just told you all, even in the heaven there are wars, right? Not peaceful. There are so many wars in heaven, and there is constant fight between the Devatas, and that's when they call the hell for hell, right? Vishnu. Hell is also always in pain. We know about hell, right? There are 28 hellish planets which are very traumatic. And about Earth, we all have experience, right? Atom bomb and what's all happening. So let's hear what he says in 8.16. Hare Krishna. You can read now.
Hare Krishna Mataji. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, so beautiful. He says that from the highest planet to the lowest, everyone is misery. But once you come to my abode, there is no Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. So he is concluding this. So now calculation starts. So come on. We've already done this in the 4th chapter, so we won't repeat the calculation. But broadly, we will be revisiting that. 8:17 to 19. Please go ahead. Hare Krishna. Please go ahead. Read.
By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together is the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. When Brahma's day is manifest, this multitude of living entities comes into being, and at the arrival of Brahma's night, they are all annihilated. Again and again, the day comes, and this host of beings is active, and again the night falls, O Partha, and they are helplessly dissolved.
We all know the life of Brahma is very long. Thank you so much. Very well read. So it is 311 trillion years, right? So that's the life of Brahma. So what happens is, so the Brahma's life is so long, but the day of Brahma is 4.32 billion years. And why so many years? So during that span, and the same equal amount is a night. So what happens during the night of Brahma? During the night of Brahma cannot handle, right? He is very busy sleeping. So that time, everything gets annihilated. That means whatever is there, material world, it is all going to go into hibernation, which means they will all go underwater. So all the lives, everybody will end. Nothing happens, and during the day of Brahma, it comes back. So there are two things which happens, one during the day and night of Brahma. The other thing so this applies to, we saw 14 planets, except the top 3 planets, it applies to all the planets during the night of Brahma. Now, during the death of Brahma, what happens is Brahma gets promoted because he is already doing a lot of tapas. He goes to Vaikuntha. Along with them, whoever are doing tapas will go to Vaikuntha, and the rest of them all go into hibernation. They all go back to Mahavishnu's stomach. And again, they get reborn after the new birth of new Brahma. So there will be a new Brahma. So Brahma is a position. So Brahma is not like, it's like Prime Minister, right? 5 years back, there was a different prime minister. 10 years later, there'll be somebody else. It's not the same person. So you identify him by a post, right? Not by a person's name, right? Present prime minister is different body. But 10 years back, somebody else, or 10 years later, somebody else will be the prime minister. Likewise, Brahma keeps changing. Hare Krishna. 8.20. Hare Krishna.
Yet there is another nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is.
So he says, yet there is another nature which is eternal, right? And is transcendental to the manifested and unmanifested. He says there is another nature, right? Which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested. It is supreme and it will never be annihilated, right? The world is, the part remains as it is, right? So he says, so what is that? So the whole world will take, right? Not just our world, the whole universe, 3/4 is the spiritual world. And he is addressing that world. Only 1/4 is material world. That material world, only one universe we see, right? There are so many universes. All put together is only 1/4. But the spiritual world is 3/4. And that is never having any annihilation. It's permanent abode, and that's the kingdom of Krishna. So, that is what is said. And just a quick summary of, whatever we read, right? So we completed the chapter, but I would just like to quickly revise this in this discussion, which you'll understand. So there are many questions which Krishna asked, but the questions specific which are to be addressed are Brahman, which is talking about us. What is Adi Atma? Whoever is the controller of body. We know that we are the controller of our body, nature of the jiva. Karma is based on the karma you get the body, right? So actions that lead to that particular. Adi Buddha, we've seen mode of goodness, passion, ignorance, the material manifestation. Adi Deva is the universal form of the demigods. So Adi Agna is Paramatma, and where does he reside? In the heart, right? And how do we remember Krishna at the time of death? Right? Anushmaran Nityacha. So, right? Therefore, we'll be thinking of him every moment. So death becomes a final examination. Hare Krishna. So this is what brings us to an end of this chapter. So let's finish the chapter. You can ask your doubts. 1 second. Vancha kalpa durubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanan pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, all of you. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare
Rama, Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. So you all want me to continue the Goloka chart. So I will just go back there. Do you all have any doubts meanwhile?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I have a doubt. Like, will you give a clarity of about life after death? Like, is it the heaven, hell? Is heaven the abode of Krishna? And why rebirth? Like, if a person goes to hell, then has to go through a rebirth, or what's the final destination?
So I'm going back to the picture. Just give me 1 second. So that's going to answer your question. So do you recall? Were you there in the class yesterday?
Yes, Mataji.
So I'm going to continue that. So our final destination is definitely not hell or heaven. Our final destination we are going to discuss today, which is Vaikuntha. That should be our aim, right? So when you do good things, you go to heaven. When you do good things, you go to heaven, but that is not a permanent place, because even after you go to heaven, like your visa, you go to Switzerland, you're not eternally going to be there, right? Once your visa expires, you come back here. But when you do the bad things, you go to Naraka. There also you're not going to be present eternally. You will come back to earth, right? So you will come back to your Bhurloka, which is your earth. Whether you go to heaven or whether you go to hell, you will eventually come back to your Bhurloka. Why? Because based on your credits which are there, you go to heaven. It is not that you have 10, 100 good credits and 10 bad credits, you go 90 times heaven. No. For 10 bad credits, you will experience hell. And for the 90 good credits, you will experience heaven. After that, based on whatever is majority, you get a body to suit that, right? So you get a body, and that particular body, you will be in the earth, Bhuloka. So your ambition is to break all these lokas inside this universe and go to, and thank you so much for the lead, because I'm going to take you now to what's called the Vaikuntha, right? Now, Vaikuntha is where the Narayana is there, the four-handed form, right? The Vishnu Narayana form is there. So he is here in the middle. Now, Goloka Vrindavan, so there are many places inside this place, right? So what are the places? You also have Ayodhya. So if you see little above, Ayodhya where Rama is there. So if you take Hanuman, he will prefer to go to Ayodhya, right? He will not be keen to come to Narsimha. So likewise, Prahlad will be keen to go to Narsimha. So all these abodes are like city. Like for example, let's say that you're going to North India. Okay, so everything is in India. Let's say India is Vaikuntha. Technically, India is considered Vaikuntha because all the gods, right, took avatar here. So what is happening is now, let's India is the Vaikuntha. Then what happens to India? So you know something like Chennai is also part of India. Delhi is also part of India. Bangalore is also part of India. So everything, but Jammu Kashmir is a part of India, but it's the highest place, right? So like that, Goloka Vrindavan is also Vaikuntha, but it is the highest. We'll go to Goloka, but currently that I'm going to take you to Goloka tomorrow. So today we are going to see Vaikuntha, and in Vaikuntha we have all other gods, right? You can see Lakshmi, you can see, everybody around, right? You can see Garuda also here. The bhava in which, like Venkatesh Perumal, you all know Tirupati. Has anyone been to Tirupati? Has anyone been to Tirupati?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. So how do you pray the God there? With a lot of respect, right? Do you go to Tirupati and do you have a chance to hug the God?
No.
No, right? Whereas if you see Krishna, you can actually hug because there are 5 rasas, right? And here in Vaikuntha, there are only 2 rasas, which means that you can be in neutrality, basically, which means like, like a cat or a cow or a flute, right? Flute is not here, but I'm just telling you, right? like his conch shell, where you are serving neutrality. Or you can also go to the Goloka Vrindavan, where you have next, which is called the, so we saw neutrality, next is Dasya Rasa. You see, right here, largely open reverence, which means that Dasya, you have respect. And above that, you have Vaikuntha. And in Vaikuntha, you have this. And above that, you have Goloka. In Goloka, you have 3 more rasas. Friendship, we saw Arjuna, right, which is Sankhya. We have Vatsalya, which is parental, like Yashoda, Nanda, Devaki. They worship him like like as if he's a child. And Madhurya, which is more like a lover, wife, congenial relationship. Example is Lakshmi, Radha Rani, Dwaraka queens. All of them have that relationship, which is the Madhurya rasa. So those 3 rasas are existing only in Goloka Vrindavan. Here you will have largely respect, more of the Ishvara kind of thing, which is basically, I am a servant of you, I am a servitor. So that is the concept which is spoken here. Got it?
So Mataji, heaven is different from Vaikuntha, right?
100%, because heaven is one more place, like your Switzerland. Switzerland is still, or I will say this, Jammu Kashmir is still in India, right? So like that, heaven is very much inside this material world. See, you can see this, right? Swarga Loka. It is very much here. So heaven is part of the material world. But people have this, right? Because they don't understand Shastra. They will tell, don't worry, I think they are in Swarga. Why this came is, it's not because they didn't, currently we don't understand, but earlier they know going to Vaikuntha is so difficult. So they used to at least hope that this person should go to heaven. So they used to tell that let him go at least to Swarga. That is how this came up. You understand now? You get it?
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Is there any other doubts?
So Mataji,
Mataji,
what happens after this bifurcation of Nark and Swarg? What happens after this bifurcation?
What happens after?
Like once you go to heaven or hell, depending on your karma, you go somewhere, and after that you take rebirth. Is that?
Yes, you're right. Your understanding is right. After that, you take rebirth, not necessarily as a human. You may take birth as an animal also. After going to hell, where is the scope of human being, right? So, we can be born as a dog also, cat also, or even a stool in the, even a worm in the stool. So all are living entities. So we can be born as anyone.
Okay, Mataji, thank you.
Mataji, one more question.
Yeah, please go
I
ahead.
thought Krishna and Rama were the same. A bit confused why Ayodhya
Because
is placed
Ayodhya is
above
also
the
there.
Vaikuntha. So that's a spiritual place, is it?
Yes, both are spiritual. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I know, it's my fault. I should have clarified. Ayodhya is not the Ayodhya in India.
Ah,
Sorry about it. Yeah, I know. We get used to it, so I should have highlighted. Ayodhya is
but
also
Rama
in the
and Krishna
spiritual.
are same, isn't it?
They are present there also. So the Goloka Vrindavan, which we tell is not the Goloka here. They are referring to the Goloka in the spiritual world.
Mm. But sorry, but correct me if I'm wrong, but till now I've understood that Krishna and Rama were just one.
They are one. They are one and different, but the form is present there. So what I'm telling you is both Rama and Krishna are one and the same as well as different. For example, so it's like even Narayana is same, but the difference is like, let's say Modi, right? Modi is there in the house and Modi is there in the parliament. Okay, how does the mother feel about Modi in the house, and how do you feel about Modi in the parliament? He's the same person. What's the difference?
Oh, okay. One is doing the presidential. It's
Right?
different. So
Yeah,
Krishna
so
is
he's
like
one and the
Modi in
difference.
the
The same Modi in the
house.
house, but in the mother's relationship with Modi is like he'll still call him unit. Hey Modi, come here, sit down. But will you go and call him Hey Modi if you get a chance to meet him? So
No.
you have awe and reverence, right? Wow, you have that respect for him. That is what is Narayana planet, right?
Okay.
Even with Rama, it's more of the Dasyaras. You have, it's very unlikely. I mean, Hanuman, there was this incident during that when he got the Sanjeev mountain, he hugged him. But you won't see many instances where you will see Rama hugging people, right? Whereas Lakshmana, think of Krishna, right? He is played with the cow also, with the flute also. He has done everything possible, right? He goes from friends trying to eat food from their mouth, plays, right? That friendship is genuine friendship. There is absolutely no formality. Whereas in Rama's case, there is some amount of, the king concept. He's, even though Krishna has been a king, but he's more like all sports, right? So it's all playful. That is the bhava of him.
Sorry, Mataji, one more last
No,
question.
no,
Then
please go
why?
ahead. I have another 5-6 minutes for doubts because we're done
Sure.
with the session today. I'm going to take the bridge tomorrow because it's science and spirituality. It's a heavy one. I'll take
Sure.
because this chapter is very long, right? So that's right. Yeah, please go ahead.
So the Brahma Samhita, that shloka, Ishvara, Parama Krishna, Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda, Sarva
You know the
Karana.
shlokas?
That shloka, Mataji, why does
So
it
nice.
then, if Krishna is Narayana, Krishna, Rama in different, like what you're explaining, it's a very nice explanation, Mataji. Then why not? Why don't we say Vishnu is? So instead of saying Krishna, why not Vishnu? Because he is the creator, right?
Who's greater?
Creator.
Yeah, okay. You're absolutely right. We can't tell because which creator are we talking about? So Vishnu is the creator of the material world. That's his job. Okay, so the material is created by Vishnu. For example, Narayana is there. Narayana comes as this Karno Dakshai Vishnu, right? And he creates multiple universes and he creates material world. Now, you may tell that for me, material world is important because I'm in the material world. But see, can you tell that you're in India? So according to me, only India is important and other things are irrelevant for me? I mean, we can still say, but will it be valid?
No.
With me.
Yeah.
Right. So basically, Vishnu is responsible for all these universes, right? Let's take, India. So Vishnu is responsible, which Garbo Dakshai Vishnu is responsible for one India. Okay. And let's say there is one more Garbo Dakshai Vishnu responsible for, US. There is one more Garbo Dakshai Vishnu responsible for, like that. For each universe, he is responsible. I'm not dividing India, US, but just for your understanding. So the material, each of them is taken care by Vishnu. That is only material. But Vishnu, actually, the original form of Vishnu, the original form is Krishna. He is the creator of the spiritual world. Vishnu is not the creator of the spiritual world. He's only the creator of the material form. So it's basically very thin line. So if you are a devotee of Vishnu, so am I, right? So family of Vaishnavites. So it comes from the term Vishnu. So where does, what do we think? We think that Vishnu is great. Why Krishna? Because Krishna is the original. Krishna is the origin. It starts with Krishna and everything comes. Because if you tell you pray Vishnu, which Vishnu do we pray? I couldn't answer. when NND asked which Vishnu, so I was telling Mahavishnu. So he said, how does the picture look like? So I was thinking, and that's the same thing until now. With Lakshmi, Lakshmi does not sit next to Mahavishnu. See, this is Mahavishnu. There is no Lakshmi here. Only Garbo Dakshai Vishnu has Lakshmi. So we don't understand which Vishnu we are praying, right? So the fault is with our understanding of Vedas. But basically, there is no significant difference between Krishna and Vishnu as long as we understand. But the origin, for example, I'll just send everybody on mute. You have an original candle, and from that original candle, you have multiple candles. Now, the effect of the first candle and the last candle is more or less same, right? You can't tell the first candle only is right, but the original candle remains to be the original candle, which is the first candle. We can't change that. So that's the difference.
Hare Krishna Mataji, but it is said na that Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the maintainer, and Shiv is the destroyer. So how is this becoming that Vishnu is the creator?
So there are many avatars which we will be reading in the advanced class. So where what happens is Brahma is the creator. Here, can you see this picture? Brahma is the secondary creator, right? And Vishnu they are talking about. I'll come to that. And Shiva, you can see Shiva is here. Can you see here? Shiva resides and he wants to give a benediction to even demons. He is the destroyer, right? Because he takes care of that task. This is called the Purusha avatar. And there is a Vishnu, right? And which Vishnu takes care of that role is the Shirodakshaya Vishnu, who will be, who will be the maintainer, right? He resides in the heart of everyone and he maintains. So that's the role. So that's the role of each of them. So it's this Vishnu, it is this Brahma, and this is this Shiva. Correct. And Brahma is not a permanent, it's a post. So whenever Brahma is not there, the Garbo Dakshai Vishnu, he is creating Brahma, right? If he is not able to find a suitable Brahma for the post, he himself will take the role of Brahma. Same with Shiva, not Shiva, sorry, Surya. Sun God, he is called Vivasthan. It's a position. It's not the same person. So when Vishnu himself becomes a sun God, he is called Surya Narayanan, right? Because Narayana takes that position. But otherwise, he is called Vivaswan. Currently, there was someone called Surya Narayanan, he is different. So he keeps changing. He's got different names. Hare Krishna. I know it's heavy, but allow it to slide. By level 2, you'll understand all of this clearly. Hare Krishna, but you can ask me doubts, of course.
Mataji, one last doubt.
Yeah.
Actually, I forgot the doubt. Sorry.
I'll give you a minute, you can think. By then, I'm going to ask everybody who's going to do the chanting. Who is going to chant today? Will you chant today? Because you forgot the doubt, you can remember.
Ma'am, I just wanted to know more clarity about gods and demigods.
You don't have clarity, or you have clarity?
I don't have that much of clarity between gods and demigods.
Okay, so basically, there are 33 crore demigods, all of them like Shani Bhagwan, Ayappa, or whatever, you have, I don't know all the demigods, none of us know probably, but all of them are called demigods. They are called devatas, which we use, but English word is called demigods. But, but the God is all the original form, like Krishna. From Krishna, what happens? Balram will be God. From Balram, we have expansions, right? Rama, Narsimha, all of them will come under God, energies of God, expansions of God. Whereas if you take Shiva, Muruga, Ganesha, Parvati, I know only few. If you know, you can add. All of them comes under demigod. Hare Krishna. Brahma, all of them are coming under that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu.
You just said Shiva, Ganesha, these all are demigods, right?
Yes, all of them will come under devatas, because these are how it works is you have a CEO of a company and you have, various other designations, right? You have department heads. Each department head takes care of a particular role. So they are like department heads reporting to the CEO. The ultimate CEO is Krishna, and they are the various department heads whom they report to Krishna. And this is not there just in Bhagavad Gita. It is there in Padma Puran. The power of Shiva is also very high. So if Krishna is the milk, right? Shiva is in Brahma Samhita. She's just right. Ishvara, Parama Krishna. In that, Shiva is compared as curd. So if you see, it is a product of milk, but it is very similar to milk, but at the same time, there is a difference. You understand what I'm saying? And Shiva prays, is an exalted devotee of Vishnu. So when Parvati asks, whom do you pray? He says that I pray, all the time I keep thinking of Vishnu. There is a shloka in Padma Purana. It says, Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnur Aradhanam param tasmat parataram devi sadhyacham. Sorry, I forgot the last line, but so this is there in Padma Purana. Hare Krishna. So he says of all the Aradhana, Vishnu Aradhana is bigger. And bigger than that is, praying the meeting and praying the devotees of Vishnu. Sadhyarsham Samarchanam. Yeah, thank you so much. So, Vishnu's Aradhana. So he's telling that I pray on Vishnu. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, you're there?
Hare Krishna Mataji, yes, I got. But one more thing, like we have heard there are only main three dev, like we called Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. These are the main director of the universe.
You're right. These are the main gods of the material world. We are in the
Right.
material world, but we need to know the holistic picture also. No? If we tell only the continents are only Delhi, Delhi is the capital, I will take only Delhi, it's not right, right? We also have to understand there is US outside. So we overall.
Okay, so the world which we are living right now is a materialistic, right?
The world
The planet,
yes,
the Earth itself is a materialistic, right?
very much, yes.
Okay, so as per Krishna, whatever has been told in Bhagavad Gita, according to him,
Louder?
hello, yes, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible, but little feeble. I think I'll check.
Okay, so according to Krishna, whatever written in Bhagavad Gita, if he is the toppest or the only one almighty, under his there are three devs like Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. But again I'm getting confused, the Shakti which you were earlier talking about, there are Shaktis, like there is a one god, फिर उससे जो शक्तियां निकल रही हैं those all देवतास, but वो शक्तियां and only one there is a one god that is a Krishna, वो शक्तियां और कृष्णा के बीच में ये त्रिदेव आ रहे हैं, like ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश. तो
हाँ.
ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश भी शक्तियां हैं या फिर they are a real god like Krishna? I hope
But I
because
don't get your question. So what are you?
okay, I reframe in the previous lectures, let's talk about Shani Dev or
Okay.
Yamraj, who come for us to take out from this world. Okay, so these all are Shaktiyan. Shakti means
Okay, you are telling Shakti because we don't use the word Shakti. That's why I had it out. We
no
tell,
I heard in the lecture you use that word Shakti, like demigod we can say, yeah.
okay, use the word yeah, because Shakti means Parvati or
All yes, all the demigods. So I'm confused between God, demigod, and the Krishna. Like you saying,
So
ki,
the God, it's like your umbrella, right? The God, there is only one God, and that God name is Krishna. Clear. So anyone other than Krishna, okay, are demigods. Now you will then ask me, then what about Balram? What about Rama? They are all energies of Krishna. All of them are energies of Krishna. So there's a difference between, like as I told, Modi in office and Modi in the house. That is what is Narayana, Vishnu, and all. Right? Narayana or Vishnu is like Modi in office, right? Rama is like Modi in the kingdom, right? If he like goes for a meeting, so that's what it is. So it's the same Modi. That's only it's called the Vishnu Tattvas, right? It's all same. But Shiva is a different god. Even by concept of understanding, you would have always read that Shiva is a different god. Nobody will tell Shiva and Vishnu same. I mean, generally people keep talking. And what happens is people among us keep creating so much of fight. Between them, they don't have a misunderstanding. They are very clear. They know very well he is the highest. So to actually give you a clarity, Shiva is Brahma's son. To be more clear, this will come in Srimad Bhagavatam. Brahma is a secondary creator. From Brahma comes Shiva. So you can imagine the source of Shiva is Brahma, but the source of Brahma is Vishnu, right? Garbhodakshay Vishnu. But you can't say in the literal sense that Shiva is the grandson of Vishnu, but I'm just telling the origin of Shiva is from Brahma. So, but that doesn't mean Shiva's power is less than Brahma. Shiva is more powerful than Brahma. Krishna has 64 qualities, Vishnu has 60 quality, and Shiva has 55 qualities. That's the potency of Shiva. But they are not equal. They are two different people. I know it's difficult to understand and digest. Just go with
Yes, Mataji.
It's not in Bhagavad Gita, only
Yes.
references across. This is in Srimad Bhagavatam, this is in Vishnu Puran, it's in Padma Puran, it's in Shiva Puran also.
Because there is a reason of the confusion is between the position and the forms. That's why it's getting so complicated.
What is complicated? Can I suggest something? Can you all go through Goloka Vrindavan chart, which I have said?
Please send me today only in the group. Yeah.
Just my suggestion is go through that chart one time fully, and tomorrow you'll ask your doubts. You'll have more clarity. You'll be able to relate. You understand what it is? Just the Goloka Vrindavan, just that one sheet PDF there, which Prabhu has sent, that alone you'll do. Is that fine?
Yes, Mataji. Yes. Please today send only.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So all of you, Hare Krishna, and Sanoli said she's going to chant. Mohandas Prabhu, you can stop the recording.
Sure, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.